In the know, non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
When I tell you guys I love you, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I will ride with this group until they don't let us play anymore games.
Yeah.
By the way, you can get your I Will Ride With This Group t-shirts and hoodies, Purple Daily style, over at scorenorth.com/shop. That's scorenorth.com/shop.
Mine's very nice. I like mine.
Oh, you have one?
Yeah, very comfortable. Roscoe gave me one. I really like it.
Very comfortable. Yes.
It's comfortable. It's nice fit. It's not that, there's nothing worse than a t-shirt with that cheap material. This material's good.
You don't want that super thick, bulky cotton, makes you
or the ones that stick or stick to you too much. Like I like my t-shirts a little bit loose.
Okay.
Like when they stick together, it's like, I don't like that. That's that cheap material.
Yeah, it's like staticky, you don't want
yeah.
that. It's kind of
I want something that gives me a little bit of
I
breathing
don't like
room.
shirts that stick to me.
I don't.
Judd just wants to wear a bed comforter, basically, for every
I would
clothing
if I
item. This is Purple Daily Vikings entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. It looked pretty bleak there at 1-4, and then all of a sudden 4-4, but now without Kirk Cousins. We'll see where this thing goes here. We're going to do so this is State of the Offense Thursday, and I ordinarily bring you guys like 3 or 4 or 5 statistical categories or themes that we kind of dive into. We're going to zoom out and have a big picture conversation about some of the things that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi said at their press conferences about the future of Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. We'll also do a Random Viking of the Week. A shout out to our friends over at Park Tav, the official neighborhood sports bar of the sports dad himself, Judd Zulgad.
That's right. And if you're watching this right now, you can see the Park Tavern has bowling. They've got huge spaces. I've talked for a while now about the fact that they are the one-stop destination for a big group. And I'm talking a big group to watch the games on Saturday or Sunday. But also, I have breaking Park Tavern news. I have breaking news from the Park Tavern.
Oh, wow.
Here it is. All right.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guess what? The Park Tavern, the holiday gift cards are in. It is holiday gift card season. These things are tremendously popular, and I have 2 options. The first one is the standard gift card. Buy a $100 gift card, and you get $25, a $25 gift card for free. But then there's also the upcoming Black Friday special where you buy a $100 gift card and you get a $50 gift card for free.
Let's go.
Park Tavern, St. Louis Park, Louisiana Avenue South. Get your gift card, parktavern.net. If you want more information about hours, about what they've got, great food, great drinks as well, a couple of bars, outstanding, and gift cards, parktavern.net is the place to go.
All right, boys. Where does the Vikings offense rank? We'll give you the big picture, then we'll get into the long-term Kirk discussion here. So after that Packers game, Vikings up from 17th to 14th in points per game. So they're now climbing that ladder. They remain 5th in yards per play offensively, 11th in expected points added, so that's climbing the charts, and 14th in DVOA on the analytical side. So, yardage-wise, and some of this, they're still recovering from all the turnovers in the first half of the season, which is why they're a top 5 yardage offense, but not a top 5 scoring offense. This is our final State of Kirk Cousins statistical snapshot because he's out for the season. So he finishes his 2023 season 3rd in passer rating as of right now, 10th in QBR, 6th in PFF grade, and 6th in expected points added. That's a pretty damn good chunk of 8 games right there. And so I want to read you guys just a couple of quotes here from Kwesi and KOC and get your thoughts on them. And then we can have a big picture discussion about should Kirk be back? He's a free agent after the season. What kind of goes into this? So Kwesi said yesterday at the podium, my want for Kirk to come back is not just a me thing. It's a negotiation. You come together at a table and you try to see if everything works together. We'll have that dialogue with his people when that time comes. So he was pretty open about some stuff too. I mean, he even said, as I was trying to figure out, do we buy, do we sell? He had players approaching him in the last 3-4 days saying, let us keep going, man. Let us keep going. Kwesi said he's being approached by players while blasting Creed in his office, watching film cut-ups of Jaron Hall.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
And the Vikings confirmed some players said that they're going to keep playing Creed in the locker room before games to keep this thing going here. 3-game win streak with Creed blasting in the locker room.
I'm not sure I'm buying that Kwesi really played Creed.
You don't think he's a Creed guy?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
I think
his tastes are better than that.
I think he played at least a couple Creed songs.
Well, he's referenced now what T Swift champagne problems at a previous press conference. He's referenced that he was listening to Creed. Is he just pandering? Like what?
Well, that's
is that what you think you're doing? That's what you think he's doing.
That's what I'm thinking. I think he actually has potentially elite musical tastes that have nothing to do with Creed.
Are you saying Creed is not a band that you would consider like an elite?
Oh God,
sort of...
no.
Hot take.
Oh my God, no!
Why are you being such a music snob right now?
Yeah.
I don't like Creed. I don't like that grovelly stuff at all.
Grovelly? What do you mean?
Do some Creed.
No one needs to hear me.
My friend, let me
Exactly.
touch
That's gravelly. That's gravelly. It sounds like you have like rocks coming up from your
while, where should we?
Mackie. No one needs to hear this, but hold on a second.
So Kwesi saying, hey, it's a negotiation. KOC was much more clear in his stance. He said he wants Kirk Cousins back. So when asked about the longer-term view of the Vikings quarterback position, Kevin O'Connell said, quote, Kirk Cousins is going to be healthy again. I know he's going to be a free agent after the season, but Kirk knows how I feel about him, and that will be something that will hopefully work itself out. I think he was playing as well as anyone in the National Football League, and one of the hardest parts about coping with this is the fact that he was experiencing his best season in the NFL and where we could have gone as a team. And I think he's right. And this is not to like belabor the point, but, Kirk was a good quarterback when the Vikings signed him with deficiencies that we saw sort of play out. Mike Zimmer did not provide him the best partnership, and we saw that play out as well, right? This has been a great partnership for both these guys. In Kevin's case, he comes out, gets to win 13 games in his first season, and now who knows where this thing was going to go, as they got it back to 4-4. In Kirk's case, I think you've just seen a different version of him as a player, a different, more quieter-minded player, as Kevin would say. So I do feel his sense of unfinished business here. I wonder where this conversation lies in February and March after all the dust has settled and the negotiations start. So what do you make of these comments from Kwesi and KOC?
Well, I mean, I think both are being upfront about it as much as they can be. And I think that there was a point last March where they for sure talked about a contract extension, and the Cousins camp has a very definitive idea of what they wanted. I think that their idea on guarantees exceeded what Kwesi's are. And I think the Vikings said, we're not going to go there. And the Cousins camp is not, the one thing that's been made clear, at least up until now, is that they are not going to back off what they want. They definitely have, if nothing else, figures in mind. So I think that what Kwesi said is 1,000% accurate. This is going to be a negotiation from a guy who's going to turn 36 next summer, who's coming off a torn Achilles, who already wasn't mobile. And now there's going to be some questions. And this is not to say that Kirk won't work his ass off. I think he will. I think he's going to play again. I think there's no question in my mind he's going to be determined to come back. But all of that being said, I liked how Kwesi put it, because if the Cousins camp says, hey, you know what, Kirk is back, he wants to go 3 years, let's get this guaranteed, I think the Vikings are going to say, no, we can't. And I think if they come back and say, hey, let's do a year or two, let's do, let's get that down now. Like this, Phil, this is the first time where I think your dream might come true, which is I think that your dream of, hey, will you take less to play? Up until now, I've said Kirk Cousins is not going to take less. And you've said, well, but that's ideal. And I agree with you. Well, guess what now? We are at a point where the Cousins people at least have to consider that. And if they do, I think Kirk might be back. But and here's where I am, and this is not to say I'm excited about Kirk being hurt. That sucks. But here's where I'm super excited now. We get to see not necessarily the Vikings QBs of the future, but what we get to see now is Kevin O'Connell working with guys with different skill sets to see what he draws up and can do. And make no mistake, while Kirk deserves credit, Kevin O'Connell, to what you were talking about before, has done an outstanding job himself. And he is a quarterback guy. And so, like, again, this goes back now to sort of a blank canvas. Not that I think Jaron Hall is going to become Russell Wilson 2 in his prime, but you are going to see now what Kevin O'Connell can do with a different style of QB. And so in some ways, with what the Vikings are going through, I think this is going to be incredibly intriguing to watch. And I think that the games from now until the end, at least, of the regular season will probably help determine what path O'Connell thinks that he should go. Because if he does get Kirk back, it ain't like Kirk's going to come back and run now. I just think that there's so many interesting factors. But if Kirk comes back on a 2-year, fairly reasonable contract, could I see Kirk being back here in 2024? Absolutely.
Yeah,
I could.
I have a bin of thoughts about how the market has changed for him in the past 72 hours. But just to Dex, like on KOC basically saying, everyone knows how I feel about him. He's going to be healthy again. I want him back. When you saw that, what did you make of that?
Well, I found it more interesting that Kwesi volunteered the information that Kirk told Kwesi, yeah, I plan to be back at OTAs next spring. He even volunteered that information, which I found super intriguing too. So I think they obviously see this injury as a gruesome situation, and it stinks because yes, he's probably playing his best ball of his career, and he was already entering a free agency decision, and it's almost like the injury has now maybe made them regret not locking him up. That's kind of how I feel about this, because they clearly like Kirk Cousins a lot, and they were willing to potentially go to free agency with him in March on this baller season that he's having. But now that he's hurt, it's almost like I feel like the Vikings, who obviously feel bad because a player got injured, and that's normal human reaction, but there's regret here that maybe we should have gotten that deal done so we know our security with him, regardless of whether he's going to be ready for week 1 next year, because who knows if that's still the case. But I feel like there's honestly regret from Kwesi and KOC's side that, man, we might have potentially blown our shot of getting him back here. But I am intrigued on the next type of contracts. He is coming off a very significant injury, and if he did not get hurt, he'd obviously have a much higher price tag.
Yeah, I mean, regret from the standpoint of now if Kirk wants to go play somewhere else, he's free to go sign somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And San Francisco is always going to be tantalizing because of the Shanahan connection. And, we've kind of brought up the Atlanta thing, and that's taken a life of its own through reckless speculation circles too, because his wife's family's from Atlanta. So from a standpoint of hey, that dude was balling out for 8 games, and now other teams have a shot at him in March. Yes, but on the flip side, from a pure negotiation standpoint, this is actually great for the Vikings if they want Kirk back at a lesser price in 2024.
I think Kwesi's ecstatic about this.
I mean, unquestionably, he's going to make less money than he would if he were to have finished this season out fully healthy, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's his change in market is a really interesting theme here the next 6 months.
The one thing to keep in mind about O'Connell, though, is to go back to Sunday, and I firmly believe this, and he's good at this. Kevin was very adamant that, Kirk's hurt, and we are going to support Kirk. So I guess my question is, in the aftermath of that, asked almost immediately then on Monday, do you want Kirk back? I didn't expect him to be oh, no, he's going to be gone. So while I think O'Connell's proud of how the partnership has worked, and I'm certainly not dismissing that, I do think that O'Connell was very much going to side towards supporting Kirk, and he should at that point.
Yep.
I don't think I think as they watch these upcoming games, it's going to take, there's a lot of the story unwritten now. Because there could be some things, and they might not even win games, but there could be some things they see as possibilities that are flat out not possibilities. And keep in mind, you guys, the run game, if the run game improves substantially, which it could now because the quarterback can run, I mean, Kevin O'Connell is going to see possibilities here. So while I certainly think that both O'Connell and Kwesi like Kirk personally, I think this story is unwritten at this point.
Yeah. Well, okay. Back to you. You said something a few minutes ago that you said, like, Phil, it's your dream. Your dream could come true here, and that it could be like a lesser, like a lower salary version of Kirk Cousins, and that door is now open. I don't think he's playing for $5 million next year. I think the floor for a contract for him, and there'd be like incentives and stuff, and probably like a games played thing or something, right? But like he's still going to make like $20-30 million a year just based on who he is when he's healthy. So I don't it certainly wouldn't be like getting a rookie scale contract quarterback in the first round where, okay, that guy makes like $8 million and now you've got $40 extra million compared to the top of the quarterback market to build out the rest of your roster. But the thing you have to avoid in the NFL, and this has been a theme on this show for years and years and years, and it's been our debates about Cousins and my complaints about Cousins are less, some of it's about him over the years, but it's more about roster building and value. Like when people come out and they say, with a quarterback or any other position, that player's making market value, therefore, like, it's correct. Congratulations, you're paying market value to a player, right? You can't build a Super Bowl roster if everyone's getting market value. You have a finite amount of money to spend. You have, let's call it $220 million or whatever the cap is going into. I can't remember what it is, 220, whatever it is, right? And so if you have, let's just say 220. If you have a quarterback making market value, okay, well, that's $45 million. And you have an edge rusher making market value. Okay, that's $25 to $30 million. And a left tackle making market value. That's $20+ million. Okay, let's do that. Well, I just spent half of the salary cap on 3 of my 53 players. So, like, we shouldn't be celebrating market value contracts. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you need value. You need to find players. This is why when the Seahawks had Russell Wilson as a 3rd-round pick for like $600,000, well, his market value was probably $25 million 10 years ago, right? But the more players you can get under market value, the more good players you can have on your team. So because quarterbacks are the most expensive thing, the worst thing you can have in the NFL is a non-elite quarterback making elite quarterback money. And if you go back to the day Kirk Cousins signed his contract in 2018, here's where he has ranked in terms of cap hit. 2018 going forward. 5th, 3rd, 15th in 2020 because they kicked the can down the road. They renegotiated and kicked the can down the road, which caused him to be 2nd in 2021, 3rd in 2022. He was set to have the highest cap hit in 2023 this year. And so they looked at it and they're like, well, we can't have, my God, we can't afford a roster if he's taking up 23% of the cap. So instead of being the number 1 cap hit in 2023, they took $27 million of his, just from an accounting standpoint, and they shoved it into a year in which he's not on the team in 2024. So now he's 7th in cap hit instead of 1st, right? So, like, it's great. He's performed at a pretty high level. He throws for 4,000 yards every year, and I would say he's a much better version of himself now than he was in 2018-19. That's all great and well. But if I'm going to pay, like, if he was going to hit free agency after doing this for 17 games, he's still not Patrick Mahomes. He's not good enough to cover up for, like, if Justin Jefferson had to be traded Tyreek Hill style, right? Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow had one of the worst offensive lines in the league and carried it to a Super Bowl. Kirk is good, but he's not, like, making up for all of your roster deficiencies. So the worst thing you can do is kind of what the Vikings have been doing the last few years, which is paying a guy who's good, not great, at a top 3 or top 5 level for the majority of these seasons. This might open the door, to your point, to pay Kirk at a valuable level. Maybe now he's like the 8th best quarterback in the NFL, even coming off an Achilles. He's a pocket passer. Like, it's not going to affect his game that much. He's still going to stand in there and, like, be reliant on clean pockets, right? But what if now you have the 8th best quarterback in 2024 on a 1 or a 2 year contract, and he's like the 14th highest paid guy? Now we're creating some value here, right? Like, now, okay. Now there's a little room to go and maybe spend a little. Now we got Darisaw under contract and Jefferson and all these guys who are actually the best at their position. So That's what really intrigues me here. I am interested in that conversation, but I still want to know who my quarterback of the future is, 2024, 25, 26.
So if the Vikings do a deal with Kirk too, the key will not be the immediate contract, because it might be 2 years, it might be 65 million or something ridiculous. But what it will be is guarantees. That's the most important thing. And previously Kirk has done, and this is a credit to Kirk and his agent Mike McCartney, they've done a fantastic job of locking in almost the entire thing guaranteed. So the question now is, and I think what fell apart last March was that. I think what the Vikings said was, here's what we'll guarantee now with you at the time 34 going on 35, and the Cousins camp's like, no, we want more, we want guarantees. So now the question is, can they get away with saying, we'll give you a 2-year contract, but here's what it's going to have, here's where we're drawing the line in the sand on guarantees, and it's filled with incentives, because like all of that, if he can't reach those, all of that helps. So that's where we have to see if there is a shift here. And I think at some point in time, if they do shift their logic coming off an Achilles and almost do like a make good contract, I could see O'Connell pushing hard for that. But if they don't, if they say we still have to get this, then I think he's gone. And that and that's where Kwesi was genuinely being, I think, upfront about. It's all in the negotiations. It's got the reality is it has nothing to do with, well, Kirk's a great guy, or he went the day after he got hurt and signed for kids. That's awesome. That's fantastic, and that's important. But what's really important is, what are you willing to do for us from a contractual standpoint? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But this is where I'm really, really curious, because does O'Connell now, does he, for the remainder of the season without Kirk, fall in love with the possibility of what he could do with a quarterback who's going to be more mobile?
And what can the organization do with, I hate to say like leverage after a guy just tore his Achilles, but Kwesi's the one that used the word negotiation here. So I'm just going off what he's saying. Yep.
You're right.
The no trade clause, you got to get out of the business of no trade clauses for, unless it's Patrick Mahomes. Okay, like a great scenario here could be you sign Kirk to a 2-year contract at like way less than top of the market. Like the top quarterbacks are at 45, 50 plus $1 million cap hits now going into the future, right? Mm-hmm. Something that's like, I need some major space between those guys and Kirk Cousins, age 36, coming off an Achilles. That would interest me. 2-year contract, you build in incentives like Judd said. No trade clause. You draft a quarterback if you want in the first round, second round, whatever. He sits for a full season. Maybe Kirk's ready to rock and roll again. Let's try this again. Let's make up for what we thought was going to happen in 2023. But now we've got our quarterback of the future who's sitting there. No pressure to start. Of course, there's going to be some pressure if Kirk plays poorly for a couple weeks, but because it's a 2-year contract, you could then trade Kirk before the deadline. You could trade Kirk in the offseason. Like, now you can get something for him if he plays pretty well. Could he be your Alex Smith, a pretty good quarterback? You can get to the playoffs. You're probably not winning a Super Bowl with him. While you look to find, I'm not going to say you're Patrick Mahomes because that's a once-in-a-generation guy, but while you look to find your Justin Herbert or your Jalen Hurts or whoever it is, right? Like,
absolutely.
It's an interesting prospect at far less than top of the market, salary for Kirk.
No quarterback, hell, no player 35 or older should ever get a no trade. What are you doing? And the thing that's changed that is this, and it's great. The trade deadline being moved back has opened up possibilities that didn't used to exist. Like, that deadline was a non-starter. It was boring as hell, right? Well, it keeps getting shoved back, which is awesome, but it creates opportunities to do exactly what you just said, Phil. And so, yeah, I don't think any executive in this league should be in the habit of ever guaranteeing security to a person who, and I don't care if you're a guard, I don't care if you're a defensive tackle, I don't care if you're a quarterback. Once you hit 35, if you are of value to a team that can win, and you are more importantly on a team that's not going to win, why would I allow myself to be restricted in what I can do to help my team? Like, the most important thing, if you're Kwesi, there is nothing more important than the Vikings. There's no one player, especially in that building right now.
Yeah.
Like there's no franchise guy. Oh, it can't be touched. You can't do it. If you have the cojones, and they did, and good for them, to jettison Adam Thielen, then I sure as hell am not going to give Kirk Cousins another no trade. And I think throwing it in the last time was a mistake. The first time I get it, because you're trying to woo him at the time, and at that time he's what?
Well, you were more desperate for him in 2018 because you were looking for the final piece to your puzzle,
yes.
right?
And he's what, 29 at that time or something like that?
Yeah.
30-ish. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you totally. Create a situation where at the deadline a year from now, if he is recovered and you think that you can go in a different direction, he can be traded. And quite frankly, if he comes in and says no, I probably don't sign him again. Like it has to be on my terms. This has to be, I think the Vikings might disagree with me, but this contract would have to be on my terms.
Yeah.
I'm building a team here. I'm not running a charity for guys that I like.
And dude, like think about too, now that you made the decision to not trade Danielle Hunter at the deadline, and dude, look at what Montez Sweat got, a second-round pick for Montez Sweat, and a first, and what was Chase Young?
No, Sweat was a second. I said I think you could have got a first for Hunter, a conditional first, like we talked about. I think we were right. And
they decided more valuable to keep trying to win. Danielle's a huge part of that. Got players in the locker room. They're trying to build a culture here. Totally understand it. I know a lot of fans disagree, but they decided the value of the culture and continuing to try and win is more than the value of like the late first round draft pick we could have gotten from the Jaguars or somebody else. That's up for debate. But I think going forward now, if your options are pay Danielle Hunter as a top 5 player at his position and win a bidding war in free agency, or letting him walk for a 2025 like third round comp pick, I think you resign him. And I think because you're no longer looking at a $50 million a year contract for your quarterback, does it give you more leeway to say, hey, let's get Danielle locked in for 3 years, no trade clause. So we can still trade him after the first year of that contract if we want to, but let's keep that asset in house. It just it opens the door for some different things.
If I was to prioritize guys who currently have a chance to either be signed because they're going into the possibility, like with Darrisaw, where next spring, if you want to extend him out of his first contract, you can. If I was to assign a list of importance there, now with what you've done, Jefferson has to get done. He has to get done.
Yeah.
Hunter now, Darrisaw, because if that takes the same path as Jefferson, it might not get done until 25. But my point is, Kirk Cousins ain't near the top of that list right now.
Also, you know what? For all of the fearmongers out there that, hey, Justin Jefferson wants his entire career attached to Kirk Cousins, and the moment that the Vikings move on from Kirk Cousins, Jefferson's going to peace out too. Well, you could lay this out as a plan for Jefferson too and say, all right, so we're going to bring him back. It's not going to be, we don't know if he's going to be the same guy or not, but he's willing to play ball with us. So we're going to bring Kirk back for a year or two. And we're going to draft a quarterback potentially too in the first or second round, and you'll be able to, or maybe Jaren Hall balls out a little bit, and like regardless of the scenario, or Josh Dobbs or something, you'll be able to form a rapport and a chemistry behind the scenes with these guys while Kirk is still in the building too. So we're not just going to move off Kirk and then have a big question mark and a big gap here. You'll be able to get to know these guys as well. So you could kind of sell it that way too. But the minute Kirk starts to want top of the market money again for like the third straight contract, and or the minute I have an opportunity to draft a franchise changing player that I might start the season with, like let's say Michael Penix falls to you, or you decide we're going to trade up because it's worth it, and that's I'm just throwing a name out there,
right?
I wouldn't hesitate to move in that direction, but much more open to this possibility than maybe a week ago, or for sure, last March when they were.
Well, now
I think Kirk's camp wanted some,
because you've got the
money.
power. That's why.
Yeah.
You've got the power now. He doesn't, and if he thinks he does, he's gone. And the Jefferson thing, I will state this again. That Jefferson thing drives me crazy. That Jefferson is like, well, if I'm not going to play with Kirk, I'm not going to play here. Are you?
Yeah,
are
he's
you?
never
Are you
said that.
bleeping serious? Are you bleeping serious? If the Cincinnati Bengals, and they don't, had the cap space and called tomorrow and said, we want to reunite you with Burrow and Chase, and the Vikings said, but we got Kirk. Do you know how quick you'd see the back of Jefferson walking out that door? Like, this is
but I
this
think
is the most ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but of course anyone would want to play with Burrow. I do think the argument is if you're going to run, Clayton Tune out or something as the starter,
Sure.
Of course he wants to know. But I think to say that it's a hard and fast stop of like, it's Kirk Cousins or I want out is ridiculous. I agree.
If you think that's the case, my point is very simple. Then you think the Vikings are incompetent. If you think that's the case, then you think to what you just said that the Vikings are the Cardinals. That Justin Jefferson is saying, well, you're not going to find one, so we're screwed.
Yeah.
Which means you think he thinks O'Connell is incompetent, which I don't agree with. So, but anyway, you know what? This is going to provide an opportunity now. In my humble opinion, this team was not going to win a Super Bowl with or without Kirk. So I'm not nearly as upset about this because I do think it's going to provide a very interesting window, a glimpse of what might be.
Yep. So, all right. I think we just solved the Vikings' problems there with multiple different vague scenarios that may or may not be
Plus, you're saying some
available
Creed.
to them.
So, saying some Creed.
I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm thinking. By the way, this is going around the internet this morning here before we get to Random Viking of the Week. Judd, get your flag ready.
Oh,
boy.
Stella, where's the flag? Bring the flag back. Okay, hold on. I got it from her.
Do you have it? Okay. The Texas Rangers won the World Series last night. Congratulations to the Texas Rangers.
Nice. First championship.
So the Texas Rangers were previously the oldest North American Big Four league sports team to never win the championship. Now that they've won a championship, which team is the oldest North American Big Four league team to never win one? None other than the Minnesota Vikings.
There it is.
Hang the banner.
There it is.
Get the flag.
We're number one. We're number one. Take that.
Get the flag.
Flag's waving. It's waving in the breeze.
That's right.
We're backed up so I'm not hitting the mic.
It's on us right now. The spotlight's on us. Now, some people have been pointing out, wait a second, the Vikings won the NFL championship in 1969.
Yep.
This is before the NFC and AFC, before the merger.
Yep.
But it wasn't the Super Bowl.
Right.
So the first 3 or 4 years of the Super Bowl era was two different entities. It was AFL, NFL. The Vikings won the NFL championship, and then they played the AFL championship winner, the Chiefs, and lost in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Doesn't count.
So when the Lions, I believe, with Bobby Lane, won the NFL championship in 57, there was no Super Bowl, so that does
Correct.
count.
Yep. So that's right. The Lions have more championships.
Right, because they counted it where the Vikings actually had another. So essentially, the NFL championship game, which was, I believe, the Cleveland Browns at the Met Stadium against the Vikings, was akin to the conference championship game now, because it sent you to the Super Bowl.
Yep. Was it celebrated like a championship? You weren't alive, I guess, but
I wasn't alive. I don't think I was alive yet.
Oh, wait, no.
Wait, it was 70. No, I was alive.
You were alive. You were like
I was
3
in
months
California.
old.
I was hanging out in Cali.
Hanging out.
I was big at the time in Cali.
Oh, that's hilarious. Little Judd, just
In
3-month-old
Hollywood.
Judd, just bitching about
Yeah.
the Vikings.
On Sunset. No, I was going down Sunset Strip with my mom in our 65 Mustang, probably smoking cigarettes, had a couple of drinks.
Just ripping heaters.
It's the 60s, man.
Hey, before we get to Random Viking of the Week, so just opening up my Prize Picks app here, where, by the way, on Prize Picks, you can win up to 25 times your money this football season by selecting 2 or more players and picking more or less on their projected stats. I also see that basketball season is in full swing on the Prize Picks app, where you can pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, which is a league created specifically for combo projections. So, you could do like a LeBron James more or less, and then you could do like a Travis Kelce more or less on like catches and 3-pointers made. So you're blending sports. It's a blast. Prize Picks also offers a reboot policy where Your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So all sorts of great perks through Prize Picks. It's a blast. It makes watching sports more fun. Go to prizepicks.com/purple daily to use the code purple daily, I should say, for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/purple daily and use the code purple daily for that first deposit match. Also tell the audience how they can lose a little weight before get some momentum going into the holidays and feel great about the state of your bod.
I certainly will. It's called One Stop Shopping, and it's from my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. Their sports dad right there, down 40 pounds a couple of years back. And I'm going to tell you right now, this program works not only to take off the weight, but to keep the weight off. And we have heard from numerous folks. In fact, I continue, and I appreciate this, to receive notes about people who have dropped weight 40, 50, 90 pounds, because you know what? Livia is going to help you take that weight off. They're going to help you get back into those clothes, and they're going to help you continue to keep that weight off. That's how good they are. And right now, they also have an offer on the table, 3 months for free. So sign up now. Winter is starting. It's getting cold. A lot of us go back to our couches, right? We gain weight. How would you like to lose weight and get 3 months for free? 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia.com. It can all be done virtually as well. So no matter where you're watching us, Livia can help you. Your first step to your weight loss journey, Livia, LIVEA.com. Check it out. And of course, send us a note and tell us the success, because so many people have had that success.
Yes. And a thank you to our friends too at Summit Orthopedics for their partnership here on Purple Daily and across Score North. If you're dealing with any type of pain, you're on the injured list. Maybe you were limited in practice, raking leaves or something.
You could hurt yourself that way.
You got to be careful out there raking leaves. You might throw your back out.
Yeah.
No referrals are needed. Summit Orthopedics offers same-day appointments. And if you're really hurting, they offer walk-in orthopedic urgent care 7 days a week from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., 25 locations in the Twin Cities and Greater Minnesota. Learn more at summitortho.com. That's summitortho.com. Okay, it's Declan's turn to lead us through a random Viking of the week. Judd with 61 career victories, Declan with 29, I have 15. In the new era where all three of us are competing on a weekly basis, Judd has 9 wins, I have 7, and Declan has 3. So it's losers out. Whoever loses throws out the clues for the next week. I have 2 straight wins with Paul Edinger and Mike Wallace. Before that, Judd had a run of Sean Hill, Cedric Faison, Carl Eller, and Dwayne Clemens.
Don't remind me of Mike Wallace. I'm still bitter about that one. And myself, too. It was a great job by Declan.
It was like a 14-minute journey for one of us.
Idiotic.
Declan was like, his name rhymes with Bike Paulus.
I went on this rant last week. I'm still pissed off at myself. I can't get past that.
So Declan has a series of clues here. We get up to 3 strikes each. If we hit that 3rd strike, the other person wins. So be careful with your strategy here. Let's do it.
All right. This random Viking of the week was a 2nd round draft pick.
Might be on the Control F here. The Control F. No, we already used that guy. Damn it.
In high school, as a senior, this random Viking of the week was named Defensive Player of the Year by the Houston Touchdown Club.
A lot of guys live in Houston.
Yes, they do.
A lot of guys. No taxes, too. People love Houston. I hate Houston, personally. I think it's garbage, but that's just me.
This random Viking of the week had 35 tackles in his NFL career.
Wow. That's an interesting one. 35 tackles. He was either a defensive player that didn't get a lot of run, or he was an offensive player with bad quarterbacks.
True. That's good.
Or I guess there could be.
Yeah. Keep going.
Or a kicker that had a bad special teams unit.
This random Viking of the week played in 23 games with the Vikings. Eight of them were starts.
Nope, we used him.
This random Viking of the Week had the same number throughout his entire career. Never changed numbers.
Second round pick.
Okay, we already used him. I just thought of two guys that we haven't used that I'm adding to the list here for future ones, by the way, through this exercise. It's great.
I don't know about that. Okay.
In college, this random Viking of the Week was first team all Big 12 in the year 2000.
Okay.
What?
Mm-mm. You didn't say he was a second round pick by the Vikings, did you?
I did not.
Okay. I have a feeling this guy came through town, but didn't put down roots here.
This random Viking of the Week is 43 years old.
Still enjoying life. I hope he's in good shape.
Well, at his alma mater last year, this random Viking of the Week and his wife were accused of assaulting a Texas A&M football player and that player's relative. Got in some legal trouble.
What? Dude, what? This is bonkers.
This random Viking of the Week played in 3 playoff games. 2 of them starts.
Okay.
I feel like you're not talking about a guy who's identified as a Viking. More of a Johnny come lately.
All right, let's see if this
Struggling here. I'm really
gets
off
you
the
on a
scent.
path a little bit.
So this
here.
guy has an anger management problem to this day.
This random Viking of the Week recorded 13 touchdowns in his career.
Wait, and he had a bunch of.
Well, not a bunch of tackles.
He had a few but he had enough tackles where it was.
I will say it's a pretty surprising amount of tackles for an offensive player. It's an offensive player.
Mm-hmm.
35 is a lot. I will give you credit for that. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's
of
where it's
tackles.
weird. It's like, boy,
I mean, you off the scent. That's why, and I said defensive player of the year in high school. I tried to
that's
put you
good.
on the other side of the ball.
You did a very good job. You're doing a great job. You're doing a fantastic job. Second round pick, but not of the Vikings, clearly. And he had 13 touchdowns.
That's on to something. Yep.
Okay, this is going to be super rando, but I'm going to guess Bethel Johnson.
Bethel Johnson.
Holy cow, you can have it. Okay, I was gonna say you can have that point. Oh my god, dude, that would have been.
Well, he returned. He was with the Patriots. I don't know. He was a second round pick. It's an offensive player. So I feel like you've gone back to the Mike Wallace. Well, damn you.
So he would have been. So it was probably looking like.
This random Viking of the Week played in one division his entire NFL career.
Okay.
And of those 13 touchdowns that he recorded, they only came from 2 different quarterbacks.
Is it Robert Ferguson?
Oh!
Whoa, dude!
Robert
Let's
Ferguson.
go.
What a pull!
Nice. Now, I don't feel
I
as
said
bad.
that with
Nice.
15% confidence, I swear. Holy cow.
I was thinking like Aroma should do, and I was trying to find if we had done him.
I think we have.
So Brett Favre
He
and...
caught 1 from T-Jack in 07.
Okay, all right.
He also caught Aaron Rodgers' first positive pass, because Aaron Rodgers' first pass was for negative yards.
Okay.
It's also
Against
his
the
Wikipedia
Vikings.
page.
Wow,
Yeah, apparently
dude.
he assaulted him and his wife assaulted
He
a
did have
Texas
anger
A&M
problems.
football player last
He did
spring.
have some, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yikes, dude. Yikes.
Nice work, Dex. Nice work. Totally
Boy, I
off
put
the
you off
scent.
the scent. Yeah,
I don't
nice.
feel bad about. You know
Holy
what? I
cow.
don't feel nearly as bad about that one as I did.
I
Mike
guess
Wallace.
if you're catching passes from Brett Favre, like you're gonna make some tackles, but 38 tackles in 83 games as
Yeah,
a
that is-
wide
What-
receiver.
What did I say? Well, a couple things.
That is
What
weird.
did I say? One, he's either a defensive player that didn't get much run or an offensive player that played with a quarterback that threw a lot of picks, right? Brett Favre would qualify. But did he get credit for special teams tackles maybe?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that some of those coming in?
In 2003, he had 16, so maybe.
Nice
That probably
pull,
could be it.
Good job.
Okay. How many picks did Brett throw in 2016? Or 2003? Was that the year he threw like 25 picks?
I mean, could have been, yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
Robert Ferguson was a busy man. So, well, there it is. 3 in a row here. Presented by Federated, okay? Federated Insurance. I'm going to start a Random Viking of the Week business because business has been booming the last 3 weeks here. Federated, it's like having a great offensive line for your business. And peace of mind, you know that someone offers a guiding hand with 100 years of experience in helping to navigate choppy business waters. Federatedinsurance.com is a treasure trove of great resources and information. And you can find your marketing representative too and form that face-to-face relationship. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Okay, boys, there's your big picture state of the offense, your Random Viking of the Week. We will be live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel Friday morning at around 10:05 Central Time for a live Feedback Friday. And don't forget about Vikings Vent Line 2 right after the Jaron Hall-Taylor Heineke matchup. We'll be live right after that game finishes up. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But thank you for making this one of the most popular football podcasts in America. We greatly appreciate it, and we will see you. Actually, a bonus episode potentially. Stay tuned.